What's up, guys? Welcome to the Zealous State of Mind podcast with the Guru Gains, also part of the West Network. Today's guest is Will Fleming. He's the host of Please Blow My Mind podcast. He also has a business, Manava Breathing. He's a lecturer and videographer. Welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah. And thank you so much, brother. It's awesome to chat with you, unrecorded and now recording. It's still awesome to chat. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, for sure. It's good fun catching up a little bit before this. But I've been following your stuff for a while, man. It's really, really cool stuff. I like your experiments, with the potato and the sauna and the ice baths and the burpees. But I love all that. But I love that the breathing stuff that you're into and the stress and reduction and strategies around all that sort of stuff. It's really interesting stuff and cool stuff, that you're doing, great messages. But before we get into that, if you could give us a little bit of a background, like where you're from and a little bit of background where you're from and that, and then up to now, and then we'll get into all that stuff as well.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you, man. It's one of the privileges in life that we get someone to say, tell us a bit about you, I often think, where else does that happen outside of podcasts now? Everyone's just like, who are you, or what can you do for me? So thank you, brother. I deeply appreciate it. And I encourage everyone else to think about, who they are and where they're from, and, tell yourself, because gosh, in this world, it's easy to forget that, we are player number one type thing. So half Cook Island, half Kiwi. That's been a gift, and it's also provided challenges. We talked a bit before recording about kind of identity and where do we fit and how do we fit, and look, I think the honest truth is most of us have the whole lifetime to try and work that out, and maybe never work that out, but you work things out along the way. For me, I guess one of the main gifts I was given is that a couple generations before me, they were people, from the islands and Europe, who really did it tough. On my mum's side, huge kind of issues with how do we feed everyone, in the islands. And like, for example, there was 5 of them. It took 10 years to bring all 5 kids over. So you imagine that today, you're not seeing your brother or sister, the oldest and youngest, for 10 years. I mean, there's some serious sacrifice that they gave, and that sacrifice was to come to New Zealand and hope for something greater, and that their kids and their kids' kids could do what we are doing, sit down and have conversations and talk about life, what a true gift. And on my father's side, it's like one of those Australian convicts, that came over from Ireland and served time in Australia, and then they said, well, you're not going home, you can stay here or go to New Zealand. And I kind of think it's beautiful that out of that, huge pain, sacrifice, and whatever else, you get me. And so I kind of am a product opposite to that. I've never had to work too hard, and look, I don't say this to show off or anything, but I definitely want to acknowledge the hard work, because it means something. It means if you pile love into something comes out. And I think that's us. If we really take a hard look, we've got a lot of love to give. And so I kind of trying to remind myself that. And it doesn't mean everything's perfect or easy. It's definitely not. But it's an awesome thing to remind yourself. So, yeah, I spend a lot of my youth, just hanging around and being with my mum. And my dad was, really into hunting, but I think I was a bit too soft, so he didn't really take me, and we've had to kind of work through that. But I guess I was really creative as a kid. I really had a strong imagination. I really loved the Christopher Reeve Superman films. I thought that dynamic between this kind of Clark Kent character and this Kal-El character, similar to maybe elements of us, right? Who are we? Who is he? And where do we fit? And probably a relevant example, because where do we fit? I mean, that's a big part of Superman, is where does he fit? So I don't think I was aware too much of that, but I definitely enjoyed, movies, and probably not much of a fan of reading as I should have been. It would have really helped me now with my studies to be a better reader. But doing what we're doing now, having funny chats with cousins, making darts and seeing who could throw it the longest, and spending my time just really enjoying life. Now, I probably did that too long. I went right through my 20s still like that, probably into my 30s. And so for the last 10 years or so, I'm in my 40s now, just been trying to refine who I am and what I do. So I followed the creative path. I studied a degree in digital design and special effects, and everything from editing, camera work to directing, and that led me down an awesome few years of working in the television industry. Kind of started at Sky TV in the early days, 2006 time, moved on to TVNZ, TV3, helped a couple TV startups, and still have awesome friends. But the big thing that I critique that time of my life was there was this whole wave of podcasts and YouTube. And I was saying to my contemporaries, hey, what's up here? The hosts aren't the Die Henwoods, it's us. And, it's a bit of a fad. And no one actually said that, but that was the feeling I got. And so for the last kind of 5 or so years, I've been trying to double down on, supporting us, doing our thing, but helping companies who have these real brand heavy guidelines just release the reins a bit. People like to talk. Trust that when I ask you something and it's not pre-planned, you'll have something to say, because that's been the human condition for forever. And it's only in the, last 50 years or whatever that we've put an earpiece in, someone tells you what to say, you look at a monitor and you read what you're saying. And everyone at home is supposed to pretend that it's just conversation. I think that's part of why we're in this scenario with everyone just with that feeling of not being that happy. So that's led me down a path of doing more teaching. At the moment, I do a bunch of different things. So one of the hats I wear is as a lecturer, and I lecture at MIT in Monaco. And what I do there is I work actually in this awesome pilot program with 2 high schools in South Auckland, and I'm teaching them digital skills, right? So these digital skills so that when the world tells you you can be more than a tradie, for example, and nothing wrong with being a tradie, but definitely the world's told Pacific people and Maori people that that's what they should be. And I and others are saying, well, guess what? You got beautiful creative minds too, right? So that's what that takes a bit of my week. The other part of my week is learning and exploring and researching these kind of ancient breathing techniques that, can basically charge us and to turn us down. And I'm really interested in how that kind of plays a part in this busy world we live in. And then I'm a family man as well, and gosh, as you know, that comes with lots of ups and downs, and you're trying to be mindful, and it doesn't matter what breathing technique I try with my kids. Sometimes I can't keep calm, but other friends do tell me, look, you have to have a grizzle every now and then because it's your job to prepare, especially these young kids that I've got. So look, I'm a dreamer, bro. I'm curious. I am open. Even I'm hopeful. I don't know where I lean spiritually, but I definitely in my heart, I'd say something like, feels like there's a bigger plan. I'd like to aim towards living a life which had a plan for us. It's hard to really think that through logically though, but I definitely think that I actually interviewed someone called Lance Burdett, who I think would be awesome as a guest on your podcast. He's a crisis negotiator. He's who the police called when there was a terrorist. And he told me one time, he said, when all the chips are down and everything's down and out, your body and mind will call for 2 things, and it's either God or your mum. And he said, so don't ever feel worried about kind of being confused about your spirituality, or you just got to be open to connection, and so I guess that's me in a long-winded way of talking around who I am.
No, thanks for sharing, because I've listened to a few of your podcasts, but you're always focused on your guests and you're talking all of that stuff, but not, I haven't heard much of your background and, past and all that sort of stuff. And, coming through, was really cool with the creative side. You found that in your 30s, with the videographer stuff and that. Is that right?
Yeah. So I had kind of like played some rugby in my early 20s, and I dabbled. So basically, my 20s were like study, rugby, and marriage.
Mm.
And
You
I
got
I
married early?
kind of, yeah, bro. So I got married at 26,
Yeah.
which I think's pretty early. I mean, doesn't sound that early, but it's been one of the awesome things to tell everyone that I've been married for like, 15 years, and everyone's like, whoa, did you get married when you were like 4? I'm like, maybe. But I guess what happened was I, I was just, well, I got to be honest, the German lady that I met, Monica, at university, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone is treating me so awesome. I'm
Yeah.
going to follow her back to her country, and I'm just going to
Wow.
like try and marry her. So I was lucky enough that I had this kind of rugby thing, and I could get over there and they'd pay my flights. And that's pretty much what we did. And, pretty soon after that, we had our baby, and then we never really stopped. And, you know, uh, I guess at some point, the the reality of earning came in, and so that's when I had to really knuckle down a little bit. So it was weird because I had a few jobs early in at Sky TV, for example, where you didn't need that much experience. It was like you were in charge of recording stuff. But I kind of knew that I was interested in a few different creative things, so I went back and studied a 1 year diploma at a place called Media Design School. And what they do is they teach you how to make After Effects animation and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so this is kind of way back in 2000, must be 2010, 2009. Um, I get a bit confused with the 2000s. We've just
Yeah.
lumped them all together. But like, long story short, man, like I um had to kind of like really climb the ladder quickly. I remember my first job at TVNZ, I was already 30, and I was applying for junior roles. So
Yeah.
right, and I was like, my two colleagues who I still remember, they were like 20, 21,
Yeah.
and I was 30. I might have been older, 33 maybe, and they just said, why do you want this job? And I'm like, well, it's taken me a while, but I really like editing and doing this. So like between 33 and 40, I feel like I've lived 2 lifetimes in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like done these podcasts and had the podcasts on TV and edited a bunch of stuff. I've kind of just wrapped up on a big production that I shot last weekend, which happy to share here. We're making a New Zealand wrestling show.
Oh,
So
cool. Yeah.
like a Pacific Māori version of WWE,
Yeah.
and going to get you involved a bit more as we go down the line, and happy to share way more
Yeah.
soon, but
Right.
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Was it Jamie Tangata?
That's it.
Yeah,
Yep. So
Yeah.
he's a
'Cause he's
legend.
one of the stars, eh?
Yeah, that's right. So we got him, and it's kind of building towards the second season where I can't give it. I don't know how much to give away, but
Yeah.
basically we've got some amazing talent from Aotearoa, and we're just super excited about. I mean, the hard work starts now. We've shot the kind of competition, and now we're going to go back and make these kind of like little videos, like I want to do it a little bit like what X Factor does. You meet the person behind. Yes, they can sing, yes, they can wrestle, but who are they, and who are the people that made them like that? So I just like the fact that we've got these kind of big burly people, and they're just like us. They got families. Who are they outside of the ring type stuff? So yeah, man, it's going to keep me busy for the next couple months, and the journey continues, bro. I don't think it's going to slow down. One of the insights I had, man, is that I think we're looking in some ways for validation for our work and milestones, but the weird thing about reaching milestones is that there's no ticker tape parade. It's just another day. And actually, the funny thing about getting milestones is if the bank balance doesn't go up, you're like, wait, what are we doing again? And so I'm trying to just think like, okay, these are leading us towards the kind of stuff that's going that that me and you will be the guests on the podcasts.
Yeah, right.
Talking about like not just that we're trying lots of things, but that we're delivering on information that people find really valuable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to move towards, is like, how do I take the dynamic skill set of this digital side that we're learning, and how do I bring in this kind of a little bit of history with the breathing, but also the future with like how it can really affect the way you feel.
Mm.
And actually being brave enough to say, if Wim Hof's got a method, why can't I have a method?
Yeah. Sure.
Because I think that's the other thing. When you come from a family which just gave you enough and said, "You're okay, man, plot away," you don't you actually need that self-belief to say, no, I can do this. And so I think that's what returning to study represents for me, bro. After years of being away from study, is like, these are the small steps to saying, if you want to play in that game, if you want to be the best at something, then it's time to act like you're the best at it.
So the study move was more becoming like I guess a subject expert sort of thing,
I
or
think so.
about being the person who's getting interviewed and
yeah.
saying like, because I feel like I know a little bit about a lot of things, but I can't talk really deeply on things,
100%, bro.
Like,
100%.
Yeah. So I sort of see what you mean with the study and stuff there. You can really get nitty gritty of something and answer questions about something and.
Absolutely. I think we spend our early part of our life trying to be good at something. And then you've got to like decide if you want to be, if that's cool, if people are finding value in that, awesome. But I feel like podcasting or video, I'm not anything special in those games. And it's not that I'm seeking to be special, but I do seek to be able to provide for the family in a way that, wouldn't it be awesome, rather, if I could go to work, really enjoy that work, really find value in it, and others find it too, and I own it, So, I think there's a bunch of hustle and grind and, whatever else. But sometimes I analyze that and I'm like, people just like trying to sell other people, and I'm just not kind of convinced that, that's me. I don't think I can go out and sell people. I really have to kind of believe, I guess, I'm probably waffling hard out, bro. But what it's all coming down to is like, back to that Clark Kent thing, like he really was honest, and Superman was just Superman, but Clark Kent it was tough because he had to kind of lie about not being Superman. So he was really honest, but had to lie about something. And so he carried this burden with him. And I think like it's a burden if you really give people the benefit of the doubt, and that means you're going to get burnt probably because others don't take you seriously or they think you're an easy pushover. And, that's where I'm arming myself with the study. It's to be like, well, hold on a minute. I can actually tell you why this works.
Yeah.
It's not just, I'm not just a nice guy here with an all right idea.
Yep.
I'm somebody who can critically, put exactly what you said. I know a lot about a lot of things, but I know a lot about this,
Yeah. I reckon it's really cool how you've done your video editing stuff, like study and, the work, and then you're doing the podcast. And now you're doing the study, so it's really cool how it's all progressing. Because sometimes people will do like a career and then like make a total change. So the learning curve is really big, like a whole different thing. So you're still learning different things, but they're connecting, which I really love. And I try to do the same thing as well. Like the podcast has been a bit of a bigger learning curve because I'm not that good at the technology stuff, but the stuff I'm talking about is, I guess, stuff that I know, but I really like how you're connecting it together and piecing the puzzles, because it's it's cool. I've heard about some stuff about having things in order, like I can't remember, I listened to a podcast, but having doing the right things in order.
Yep.
and it seems like things are really coming together for you, like bit by bit, sort of thing.
And
Like study and everything.
yeah, absolutely, bro. And those things might come together, but you got to push them a little bit.
Yeah.
So no one was ever going to do it all for me to study, and actually no one is doing everything for me. And I realized that actually hard yesterday. I told you I failed an assignment,
Mm.
and it was brutal. I sat there just like wearing it like a stand-up comic on there, just eating crap for 15 minutes, bro, starting to sweat and everything, and just like I had a headache and everything afterwards because I was just like carrying the world. But I tried to listen to it and say, okay, well, don't be so unprepared next time. Ask for help a bit earlier, and general life lessons. But the other thing I was just thinking when you were talking a little bit was you can't do a podcast and not hear things as well. So things do emerge in these podcasts, which when you start getting through a few things, you're like, man, I keep hearing that. So I kept hearing about breathing, and what the hell are you talking about? We just breathe. And yes, that's true, but it is only one of two functions that you can take over manually. You can't actually say to your heartbeat, slow down, but you can breathe in a way that influences your heartbeat to slow down. And the other one that you can take over manually, so you got like this auto system, which is your autonomic system, takes care of that. So you just sit there, and when we talk, your body's already regulating when you breathe. When you drink, you're basically holding your breath, but it's all automatic. When you sleep at night, that autonomic system takes over, and then all of a sudden we remember, because that's what it's happening. Was we remember that we can take over this thing, that we can actually choose the pace at which we breathe. And it actually blows my mind when I realize that, because we en masse don't do this. We unconsciously breathe in a way which is just reacting to the world around us. And I think most people can understand, including me, that this world's pretty out there compared to what, let's say, 5 generations ago, this would have been like living on an alien planet. Like what's a Zoom call? You might as well be a witch. You know what I mean? And their life was, way calmer, way slower, not any easier, but slower and calmer. And the day was, kind of circadian rhythm was a big thing. That the morning meant something, the night meant something, and so it's in some of those ancient stories which I think potentially a pathway forward is waiting there for us.
So it was mainly through the podcast, hearing it a few times, that you got into the breathing stuff and creating your own business. That journey, and then getting into it and then creating your own, and a little bit about your Manava breathing as well.
Absolutely, bro. So I mean, the big one was interviewing Patrick McKeown, who's an awesome podcast guest.
One of those, awesome.
Yeah, and he just breaks it down in a way that really connected with me. One of the things that that I was thinking about with breathing is like Wim Hof breathing is really huge, and I was like, I tried it and I didn't really like it, and I was like, maybe it's just me. I didn't really know what to expect or what not to expect. But when I heard about this Patrick McKeown, and his whole thing is, slow nasal breathing. And so when I interviewed him, it just made sense what he was saying. He said in his Irish accent, I don't think I can do an Irish accent, something like, Will, you can't have a conversation about mental health until we slow the mind. Basically our mind is racing around because we breathe in a way that forces it to. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing to say. And so I actually called a friend of mine, Gareth, and I said, hey man, you're in the sports world. Can you just have a look at this for me? Because I'm thinking about doing a course in it, and this was like just before the pandemic kicked off, so I think I was already gearing up for like, ooh, this is out there. The whole world feels like it's on shaky ground. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I should look into this, because what an awesome thing to be investing in terms of breathing, particularly when COVID is attacking your respiratory system. And so Gareth checked it out, and he's like, man, it looks all good from a sports point of view, and I liked it from a, like just a wellness point of view. So it kind of kicked off there, and then we formed that Manava Breathing business. So I called it Manava Breathing. We formed the business together, but I kind of coined the term Manava Breathing because I wanted something to relate back to my Pacific ancestry. And so when I looked for the words of breathing and stuff in Cook Island Dictionary, one of the words that came up with was Manava. And Manava is the word for core. It's the Cook Island word for breath of life. It's also the word for lungs. And I was like, man, that's awesome, because I'm very kind of metaphorical with my creative side, right? And so I needed something that could paint a picture. And I knew it was all about the core, and I knew it was all about nasal breathing. And you see this in Māori culture with the hongi and those type of things, but where that kind of Western side comes back in is, we know that when you breathe through your nose, you automatically connect with your diaphragm, which is your core. And when you do that, you breathe slower, but you breathe deeper. And that's all the secret is, that's the secret of slow nasal breathing. So I was like, man, the science says between 4 to 10 breaths a minute is kind of what they call functional breathing. And we breathe, most of us, and I think up to 80% of us breathe between 10 to 20 breaths a minute, so that's how we're breathing now. And that's kind of fair, probably, because we're in a bit of a zone together. We're excited, and that's a good thing. You're allowed to breathe a bit quicker, but we'll breathe that same way when we're sitting down eating dinner, when we're having sleep, and we're over breathing. And when you over breathe, it's like overeating, or over anything. It's not good for you. So I started researching what's this kind of optimal rate. And I found these research papers that really took me back, bro. So one of them was about how ancient prayer timed out your breathing rate with how you sung and did hum. And all these different cultures, they all seem to time out at 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out. I was like, man, if I felt like Scooby-Doo, like uncovering a little clue or something, because I'm like, like looking around like Gollum, like, yes, I got something. And of course, what I had was just a breathing rate that was in the optimal zone, but I tied it straight away to these ancient kind of stories that when you were talking in a certain way and breathing out in a certain way, and music does this too. What it starts to happen is you have this flow, the in, the out, and your body's not working any harder than it needs to. And so, yeah, we coined the Manava breathing. And so since then, it's been, still a journey, and we're still on it, but we have kind of two pillars in that business. And one is wellness, and the other one is sports performance. And so both Gareth and I kind of work tandem, and we have like a middle zone as well, which is some products that we sell, like a breathing mask that it just makes it a bit tougher to breathe, and that pumps your respiratory system up, kind of like simulates altitude training.
Yeah.
And the other one is this sleep tape, which goes over your mouth at night, just to help you support you to breathe through your nose at night. And so, bro, it's like, it hasn't even been that long since we've started it, but that's the thing with these kind of passions, is they build and it's starting to snowball. And I'm on your podcast talking about it, and I'm studying, and it's like, the journey's fun, and it's very meaningful. And why I love it the most, man, is because you can measure the effect. That's why I love it. So many things in life, you just have to be told, like, it just is because it is. And the kind of more I look at things, I'm like, where the real value's at is a measurable effect. Tell me that it's going to work. I'll try it, and I can see it works. And what I can tell you today is, if you breathe in this kind of way, you will lower your blood pressure, you lower your heartbeat, you'll automatically go into a mindful zone because you're focusing on breathing. And those three things connected make you feel better. So everyone just says, do this and you'll feel better, but no one ever says why. And I think that's the beauty of this stuff, is that, it's nothing new. It's no iPhone app, although we do have an iPhone app.
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just connecting the mind and body through breathing. It's kind of beautiful.
No, I love it, man. And I saw a post you did a while back. It had the, being man of faith. He had the, he breathed the breath of life in his nostrils.
Mm,
And man, there's so much power and all those other things you're mentioning
absolutely.
with the hungi and stuff like that. Because I
Mm,
always love that when I see my mates. Like I've been out partying, and I'll be with one of my Māori mates, and he'll see someone, and they'll say hello, and like, man, it's beautiful, eh? Anyway,
beautiful, man. Yeah, it is beautiful. And just on that, like, one of the things Maori did amazing was to force those things into the culture and keep them in there.
Mm,
And I say force because Pacific forgot. Like, we had traditions like that too. And they've been kept, those stories are kept in the Hawaii archives, but they had stories like that where you would also hongi, but you would touch your third eye, and transfer knowledge. You would there was stories of men kind of letting a potential partner know that they were healthy by nasal flutes,
mm.
and the clearer you could play the nasal flute, the healthier that showed. Even to Captain Cook's guys that boarded, that came off their ship and came onto the island. I think their nickname, the Hawaiians' nicknames was without breath.
Mm.
Because all these Europeans, with their mouths open, and
I
and
really noticed it.
exactly, and that was a sign, even in some of the ancient First Nation cultures. The question was, why do we never see people smiling in pictures? And it was because they knew that having the mouth open brought in bad stuff. So the legends were, that's where the evil stuff comes in. But literally taken, that is how it works. The more you can keep your mouth closed when you're not eating, drinking. So when you're not eating, drinking, or talking, that mouth should be closed. And I mean, look, to go a bit deeper as well, because I was like, well, why the heck don't we close our mouths? What's the difference? Surely if we're supposed to, we're supposed to. And actually, one of the answers comes from that European kind of that Western culture again started preserving food. And what happened, bro, is we started canning everything and not chewing enough. So when we didn't chew enough, we didn't have the strength in our jaws to keep
Whoa,
them shut.
I
And
didn't know that one, man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
bro. Yeah, bro. And so what happened is, if you don't keep your mouth shut, your tongue can't sit at the top of your mouth, at the roof of your mouth where it should be. So if you close your mouth now, you should feel your tongue at the top of your mouth. And it's supposed to be like that more often than not, because it gently stretches the top palate, right? So the other thing that happened is all of our people, including me, started getting buck teeth because you weren't developing that big jaw. So it looped back around for me, because I'm like, isn't it funny? The things that we think are beautiful on a man, big rock jaw,
Yeah, yeah.
nice straight teeth for smiling, and those things were automatically happening when we were breathing better. And
Mm.
what do you think of, if you think of Austin Powers, for example? It's the English, as the buck teeth, and those were from, not, well, maybe I can't say those were from, but a heavy contributor to that was, we thought we'd won by canning food, but we lost in other ways. And so, that's where a lot of these things, especially for our kids, it's like, tape that mouth closed, because you're not chewing enough. So it means you probably can't keep it shut as it needs to. And until we can solve that, here's a product that's going to kind of help you keep that mouth closed. Because it's, when you go really deep into the science on it, like, not breathing properly basically means you'll be more stressed. It means you will have, more susceptible to depression, and further down the line, if that's not bad enough, things like kind of higher psychiatric disorders, and then on top of that, Alzheimer's and that, and like, I don't kind of hang everything on that, but it's a system, bro. The body's a system, and a system in terms of like every other system. It has waste products that go out, and when you breathe in certain ways, the fluids around your body go. Like cerebral fluids through your brain clear out junk, and they only get activated, bro, when we push things around. If we just sit here how we do in our modern world and we breathe shallow, you're just doing enough to breathe, but that's not enough. You need to breathe
Get
and
everything going as a
yeah,
system.
yeah, yeah. It's a system, bro. Like day, night, in, out, up, down. Um, we're
Is it,
supposed to.
is it hard now, like, you know, knowing what you know now and you see people, like walking down the street or going to Countdown or Pack and Save, and you're like, man, just shut your mouth. There's like this good news that you've got that you want to share with everyone. Like, yeah, but it's sort of, I don't know, overwhelming, or, you don't want to approach every single person and say, talk to
Honestly, bro,
them.
it's not, because I'm my own test subject.
All right.
I'm that mouth breather from a kid. I was also had pretty average nutrition growing up. I love you, mum, but giving me unlimited access to Macca's and stuff, probably not a smart move. It was awesome, but it's like not. So I am. I'm the first to take my mouth at night. I'm the first to try and breathe through my nose. I'm the first to try and you know put my money where where the nose is, and to try and breathe through my nose as much as I can. I mean, I do get, there's a wider sense, and the more I've kind of been researching with Professor Grant Schofield, uh, who would be another amazing guest for you. We talk about like getting into the science around like depression and stuff like that. Like, man, that's the stuff that weighs heavily, because modern science, and we all kind of hear that, right, where it's the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
what that means in real time is that actually there's no real big plan for mental health, because there's two plans that I think the government go by. One is basically SSRI, or antidepressants, and which they work, but it'll freak you out to know that they probably don't work. I'll talk about some stuff with that that's pretty scary. And I probably should know a bit more, but anyway, will give me a little bit of leeway, since I'm only just new into this thing. But the other one is talk therapy, right, which might be psychologists in that. I think from a presentation I heard this week, bro, there's 3,000 psychologists in New Zealand, and there's up to something like 300,000 people who potentially might need someone. So, like, put that in any other realm. Imagine if there's only 3,000 teachers in New Zealand. There'd be riots in the street. Yet there's only 3,000 health professionals who can kind of help with talk therapy side, and my kind of thing is, well, where's all the bits in the middle, like nutrition, exercise, breathing, which fits into both, because when you do breathe slower, you get the digestive system working, and all of these things. And so that's the scary part, is we're somewhat as we always were. It's up to us, and actually that's a nice realization. It's always been up to us. You are supposed to look after you, and I'm supposed to look after me, and where we can, if there's enough left over, we come together and help out others. So I just think what I wish to contribute, if it all goes how I want it, is something that even someone that society has forgotten can access. Meaning, if it's a movement plan or a breathing plan or an eating plan, even those who you hate, that get locked away in rooms, prisons, they should have access. If it's a true solution, you shouldn't need a Zoom connection. You shouldn't need to be part of a group. Just have the knowledge to follow this thing, or the insight, or however it is. And so long term, I'd really like to be able to help our people, Māori Pacific, to be less stressed. I think that's why you see a lot of the issues with, whatever the issues are that get portrayed in public media. I mean, you can't have a subset of people who, look at the stats on blood pressure. That's a clear sign that you're going to be more stressed, that your heart's going to be beating faster, that you'll produce more adrenaline. And when you produce more adrenaline, that's a signal that you're in fight or flight. Like, you can't ask people in fight or flight to make sound, fair decisions. Easy to make sound, fair decisions when you're fed, rested, have a wide peripheral view on the world because you're not in fight or flight. And so when you outline it like that, it's freaky as, but you just got to keep going and doing, small steps.
Why isn't it getting out there? Like, I guess it's getting out there now. I guess there's like the business side where they want to sort of control us a little bit, that type of thing. But then, like, even people that do hear about it, some dive right into it, and then some sort of says like it's too good to be true, or it's a bit weird, like a bit voodoo. So not voodoo, but I mean, like, it's a bit like hippity sort of thing. But
bro.
What's your thought on that? There's there's the business side, and then just, I guess, people like when I was used to train people, I got into it, listening to Patrick, and I would try to finish the session sometimes with some nasal breathing on the lying on their back and stuff. And some people really feel uncomfortable.
Right.
There's more to it than just the breathing, like not being.
Well, I mean,
I guess it was a setting of a gym too, so they're probably
bro.
the right setting. So there's a lot of maybe in their own room, their own time and space and things like that. So,
well, like, there's obviously multiple kind of layers to this, but one of the things that gets revealed is that and actually Grant, who's the professor who mentors me, he was saying, like, when you're depressed or anxious or sad, you would think the logical move is to seek help, but you don't, because you're not in that kind of open view. You're trying to survive. And so the other thing that happens too is, I think you'll find that a lot of the people who just switch to nasal breathing, if they're really anxious, they'll get a fright from it, because it's not unlimited access. It's a reduction of air because you're over breathing, and that takes time for the mind and body to get used to. Now, for people who have respiratory problems, maybe, let's say, challenges, maybe they've had asthma growing up, they're very self-conscious to the reduction of air because that triggers that panic. And so some people will say, no, man, that's not for me. So what I've tried to do with maneuver breathing is to say, like, this is the human optimal way to breathe. And this may feel slower, but it shouldn't feel in any way of a drama. When I say drama, you shouldn't be hungry for air. You should just be realizing that you're taking slower breaths, but your actual oxygen level will be greater because your diaphragm produces and pushes all of the blood in your lower lungs, and that gas exchange happens. It's kind of like an electric car, like maybe this is not a good example, not electric car, like a diesel. Like a diesel gets more kilometers for less. You're like, wow, that's amazing. So it's not a good example because it creates more pollution.
But in terms of getting more out of it.
If you breathe deeper and slower, you get more bang for buck than shallower, because that one was only just built for panic, couple minutes, get you out of danger. Maximum energy, but it's not a maximum energy because it's got no more energy after a couple of minutes. So you're still trying to trigger this thing, and the adrenal gland's like, dude, I just tried to help you. You're supposed to recalibrate to that middle ground, which they actually call homeostasis. That there's no more in, no more out. And that's what maneuver breathing is trying to do. It's just be like, even in, even out, even in, even out.
Yeah, man, they really blew my mind on that, being in that state, where you were talking about making logical decisions. People could see, I even do. I'm really good. I'll be like, man, why don't you just do this or that? But when they're in that state, it's hard to think logically, and
Absolutely.
I'm like, man, it's really hitting home now. In different situations, whether it was nutrition, or why don't you go for a walk, like do some exercise, and they
Mm.
probably maybe see it in another state, but in that state right there and then they don't see it, or because there's all these different things, simple things that we could do, but when you're in that state, it's not so simple, huh?
100%, bro.
It's
And
crazy, yeah. It's
it's
just
crazy.
for breathing, and it's such a simple. It's free. And you don't need
It's
it.
free.
You don't,
That's it. That's it. And like, what's crazy is that they probably couldn't see it. Just like, so the example I'd give is like when you're in fight or flight, you have a limited, you have a keyhole view, and it's supposed to be of what's in front of you, fight or flight, tiger coming at me. I'm not interested in the trees or anything else. Tiger coming at me. So when you're in this fight or flight, and if you put that in the realm of, feeling anxious or depressed, you're not seeing a peripheral vision.
Mm.
You're just seeing what's in front of you. So peripheral vision is like, hey, there's help over here. Hey, there's this awesome idea here. Hey, there's something here. No, you're just looking at that boogeyman and it's chasing, and I think it's super difficult because if you're not in fight or flight, it's like, rich and poor, it's hard for each to understand.
Right. I go just.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm starting to understand more and more. The more I
Mm.
learn about it, that it's not a simple equation, and
Yeah.
developing the empathy and understanding for the other side.
Mm.
Type of thing. With the tape, heard about it a few years ago. I haven't used it personally, but I have been, conscious to try to breathe from my nose more and more.
Mm.
And I told a few people from the gym about it as well, and they're sort of like laughing at me, like it's crazy. And it's what you tape your mouth shut at night, and I was like, yeah, that's what you do. I haven't done it, but because they're talking about some special tape. You just showed me before, but before we started the podcast.
Can I show you
Yeah.
one of them? I'll just give me a second. Hopefully you don't have to cut this out.
But it was interesting, the tape. Here we go.
Sorry, bro. What were you going to say?
No, actually, like when I had my my daughter, so one's 2 and one's 8 months and a bit, and like when they would sleep, sometimes their mouth would drop and I'd close it.
Yeah. That's a great instinct.
My wife would be like, she understood that I look into these things, so she sort of just giggled, but she never tried to stop me. And now they're like good nose breathers,
That's it. And you.
They would do it usually, but just sometimes they would drop, here and there.
But it's exactly what people have done because it doesn't feel right to be open, because you probably look at it and you're like, something could crawl in there. That's what most of us think. But
catch 'em fly,
man, we carry the past in us, literally, metaphorically, metaphysically, it's there. And so I think those are the instincts, like I try and remember too, bro. Like I'll show you the tape and then I'll tell you the story about something that was bugging me with breathing. I couldn't find out something, and I was like thinking about it to myself and thinking about it, and I just really related it to the things we do, like how good a hug feels.
Yeah, man.
Like, and it's weird, It's weird. Yeah. Like if you think about it, like
I hug a lot now, but I didn't growing up. But now I love it. Yeah.
It's like a whole nother language, bro. And I solved one of these big problems I had with breathing through a hug. But let me show you this tape. So this is called Myotape, right? For your video viewers. For the audio listeners, it's kind of tape shaped like a square with the middle cut out. And I'll just put it on because it's like, is it kinesiology tape? Is that tape it's made out of that?
What type of tape? Yeah. For injury.
And basically, it goes over your top lip and then through over your bottom lip.
Wow, that looks fancier than the one a few years back that they were shot.
That's it. So you can still talk. So that solves the problem of people freaking out, because they don't want to be covered at night. But what it does is if I just stop talking, it gently, it's elastic, brings it together. And that's all it does. And your body's weird. Like, when I'll just take that off because it probably feels a bit weird for everyone. But, one of the breathing things they say is if you don't know where your diaphragm is to like lie on your back and put a book on your belly, because your body is aware of everything all at once, but you only choose the bits you realize. Like we're all sitting in a seat or touching the floor, but you're not aware of it. Your clothes are on you, but you don't all of your whole body doesn't say clothes are on me, clothes are on me. You just get used to it. You have sensors that turn on and off. And so what happens when your lips touch is your body's aware of it. All right. And it helps to keep the lips closed. So yeah, that's that kind of tape. And we've just been exploring, well, firstly, what it means to run a business and import things during a pandemic. It's pretty gnarly. But
MYO?
MYOTAPE. And the easiest way to find that, if anyone's interested, is to just go on our Instagram page, Manava Breathing on Instagram, and in our bio is the link there. But yeah, man, we're just so in the early days, but we'll see if we can suss a deal out for your listeners, and I want to get you some too, because so you got the beard, right? And that's a bit of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been thinking about that too. Like, obviously, you can't. You can attach tape to your lips, which is how you keep the lips shut, and you can use that too. So what I've been doing is cutting it in half for the beard people, and just taping it over the lips. But look, when everyone says that's weird, that you breathe, that you tape your mouth shut, I say straight away, no, it's weird that we breathe through our mouths, and then they say why, and that's the bit that I kind of wish to relay. Well, we're not supposed to breathe through our mouths all the time, so we dry our airways out, which is why you wake up with a bad breath and why we wake up with a dry mouth. Bad news. It's a signal that something's not right. 2, when we breathe through our mouth, we miss this awesome filter we have on our nose. So our nose catches most of the bad pathogens. It's got mucus in there to catch things, not just for boogers. It's actually doing a job for us. The other cool thing I think is really amazing about the nose that doesn't happen with the mouth is your nose warms and cools air. And that's like, I really blew my mind when I realized that, because I was like, oh, that's why Europeans have these longer noses, because they came from these cooler climates, right? The air needed a tiny bit longer to get up that nasal.
Yeah.
And then our Pacific, who actually literature says Pacific, Maori have the perfectly formed noses. Isn't that weird that we don't see that on all the billboards?
Yeah.
And these noses are, bigger nostrils, more delicious air. And so it's actually unacceptable that Maori Pacific are not at the other end of the, health scale, wellness scale. And actually in the 30s, a dentist came over from the UK and measured some of our Maori Pacific kids and said that these are the people with the most beautiful facial structures. The ancient ways of living provided these kids with big jaws, no tooth cavities, no dentistry needed. They didn't have the fancy Colgate, whatever's. Nature provided all that stuff. So, yeah, look, it's one of those things that we've just got to start small, and we can start small by, when you're not eating, when you're not eating, drinking, or talking, you make an effort to keep the mouth shut, and it happens. I mean, I bet lots of people are realizing their mouths are shut right now. Subconscious thing,
Yeah. That's another
yeah,
great benefit for those who are a bit skeptical. You get better looking from it as well.
Absolutely. I mean,
kids or whatever,
bro,
it ties into that as well.
100%. Like,
the jaw.
That's your biggest thing, having the big jaw. Like, if you Google something called mewing, for example, I don't know how to spell it. Mewing, MEEWING, I think.
Yeah.
It's basically a movement of teenagers who press their tongue up against the roof of their mouth to widen their jaw. So something like, and they do this day. And what this does is it slowly widens the top palate, strengthens the jaw through these exercises. And what they get is these big square jaws. And it's all for Instagram. And so what they're not realizing is they're getting better breathing as well. And so you'll see, maybe the true win is lower anxiety, lower stress. And but yeah, it all comes back to how we look and how we feel, and those two things go hand in hand.
Man, just with the breathing, like so there's a lot of different techniques and stuff like that, but you guys are mainly just, there's heaps of different things that, because I listen to Patrick and there's stuff on training and then like stuff you're talking about just for general health. But the main thing is breathing through your nose. I mean, I guess for people to start, and if they want to get down the rabbit hole, they can
Absolutely.
do.
Look,
There's box breathing and different things there. But that's sort of like
yeah,
great place to start.
great place to start. So I think about breathing as a spectrum, and on one side, probably the easiest way to describe how I think about it at the moment is on one side, you got Wim Hof breathing. That's Tumo breathing.
Yeah.
And that's the short, rapid, hyperventilative breaths. And so monks do this in the ice to keep themselves warm, but to show how superhuman they are, right? And so this is breathing that you will be doing unconsciously if you're a bit anxious. Imagine the tiger running at you. How are you going to breathe? Tumo breathing. I don't know if you've seen Terminator 2. Seen Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Remember the guy with holding the thing?
Yeah.
So there's those last breath of
Yeah.
life, bro. He's trying to keep that adrenaline flowing to stay alive till they can get out of the building. Well, that's my creative side. And then the opposite side to that, bro, is this manava breathing, is this reduced rate, right? And so the manava breathing is, instead of the we're in 2, 3, 4, 5 and out 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can really see the difference in pace.
Yeah.
And but basically that's the spectrum. And so in the middle is all these different types of variations, but you've got this, I guess the far opposite to the kind of fast Tumo breathing is like breath holding or something like that, which people have explored in different ways. You got box breathing, which asks you to hold a little bit and then let go, and I've been trying to explore that too. And as far as I can see, like the biggest ways that we need to kind of hold on to air is, you got oxygen and carbon dioxide, and if the breathing tools is a way to get those two things even, and so if you don't have enough carbon dioxide, like you've hyperventilated, a way to restore that is to hold your breath and to let the carbon dioxide come back up, right? If you carry too much, then blow some off and it comes back to even. But that gets a bit more tricky because it's hard to measure and feel exactly what that means. Like in short, though, I kind of referenced before that something was bugging me about breathing, and I had to go on this kind of mental journey to figure it out. And what was bugging me is I'd heard and seen written that if you take a longer exhale, you feel more calm. And I didn't understand why, because I based my Manava breathing on even, like equilibrium, yin yang, that we have an even in, even out. We're not working any harder than we need to. But I kept reading that the longer out is more calming. So I really went on a rabbit hole and I found the answer. The answer is all to do with your diaphragm. So when you breathe in, your diaphragm comes down, right? So it sits like that automatically, kind of tucked up against your heart. And when you breathe in, it comes down, which sucks the air in. And what that does is it means there's more space in your chest and your heart expands a little bit. When your heart expands, because it's got more space, it starts letting more blood through, right? So then when you breathe out, your diaphragm comes back up. And if you continuously breathe out slowly, the diaphragm moves up and it squeezes the heart. That's why I referenced the hug. I like the idea that your diaphragm hugs your heart, and that's what calms it down. But what actually happens is it squeezes the heart a little bit like you putting your finger over a hose. It starts squirting through, and that sends a message back to the brain. Hold on a minute, slow down. We're having to push a bit harder here, slow down. So I've been kind of exploring the idea of,
that's a cool one to figure out.
Yeah, bro. And that was a huge moment for me because the opposite's also true. If you're feeling slow and not having enough energy, you want to have a longer inhale and a less exhale. So that will mean you've got more blood pumping through, right? So you will want to kind of I kind of think about it just simply. So I might do 5 seconds in, 10 seconds out to have a relaxed feeling. If I want to have an up feeling, I might do 10 seconds in, 5 seconds out. So it's all about giving your heart what it needs,
Yeah.
depending on what you need, you know? So yeah, I've been trialing this with a little heart rate monitor, and been super like buzzed out by seeing my heart rate drop, and so then I thought about the resilience side of things, and I've been trying it in the sauna and the cold, and
Yeah.
like, man,
Yeah.
life's life's out of it. And I try and just ride that wave of turning these weird concepts, these creative concepts, and how do you bring them into kind of the science realm and join these two things up.
Yeah, man. Have you heard of Brian McKenzie? Brian McKenzie?
Yep.
Yeah, he does a lot of cool stuff as well, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's actually, I saw Patrick for the first time on his podcast.
Right.
Oh no, sorry. I thought I
Tattoos?
was thinking about Brian Rose.
All right.
No, he's going through the ringer at the moment for being a bit of a. Anyway, we won't talk about Brian Rose. He's worth a Google. But yeah, Brian McKenzie, I've actually got him coming up on my podcast next month.
Wow, awesome, man.
Yeah. So, but
Run away.
what's that?
Guy for all the tattoos and stuff, eh?
Oh, dude, he's the man. He's the man. I love his stuff because it's so logical,
Yeah.
and that's actually one of the things I want to talk to him about is like, how do we make these breathing rhythms easy for people? Because, we're humans, we want to, it's hard to introduce new things, that's why it's hard being a kid, because everything's new, and you just got to like be super patient with it. But yeah, he's actually one of the guys I follow really closely.
Yeah. All right, man. Just got a few more questions. Respect time, man. Thanks for unloading. It blew my mind, man. On few light bulb moments there. It was really awesome.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Just with your experiments, man. Yeah, just it's a bit of a lighter side. That was all pretty life sort of changing stuff. And I saw you did the potato challenge.
Yeah, bro.
Are you doing that? It's pretty cool. You're curious. You try different things out and that.
Yeah, I mean, and like I'm always kind of battling the will to do whatever I want, and I definitely haven't won that battle. I'd love to be way more disciplined than I am, but I feel like those are foundational things that you have to kind of find the right mix for you. So just like everything else on a spectrum, I love the potato diet because it's super simple to follow. It's super cheap. You get dynamite results. You're like losing, who cares if it's fat, water, whatever, man, it's going out. And some of the science on it is that you're starving, but not in the way you might think. Like you're getting bucket loads of nutrients, heaps of water, that saturated stuff that people talk about in the potatoes. The science is every time you reheat the potato and it cools, it turns, it like does something to the chemicals and it becomes the superfood, like Maori Pacific, like that's what they survived on, especially kumara and that. So like, it's definitely not, I did get a few messages saying, what the hell are you doing? And all that stuff. And look, I was on a massive calorie reduction. What's that?
No, I just had a little giggle because you make it, fun and you a bit of a laugh and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool. You use your videographer skills and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, bro. But no, that was, I mean, here's the thing, you get awesome results, but you can't keep the weight off,
All right,
because and so that's like everything, if you're a UFC fighter or something and you need to cut weight, maybe potato diet's awesome. But for me, like I'd read a little bit too around like, it's better for you to find any way to cut weight drastically, because carrying extra weight obviously is not healthy for us. So yeah, look, try to keep it fun. I guess I experimented a little bit with that. I did 100 days of 100 burpees, just to see if I could do that. And I was amazed at how I couldn't do a burpee on the first day, and that just really revealed to me that like the human body, it's use it or lose it, eh? And so that was an amazing challenge because that was tough, and it was a mental challenge. And then, I guess I've kind of been dabbling around in things that are a bit uncomfortable, like I'm a real big advocate for going in the cold water. I think that's just like a primal secret. You just have to do it, and it does things inside you, mentally, physically, spiritually, that you don't have to worry about. It's just doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's building your resilience to the world by giving you control over fear. Like literally, I love the fact that the water gently compresses you. Again, back to that hugging stuff. That if you're lonely, man, get in the cold. That water will hug you.
Yeah.
You won't be worried about anything. You'll be worried about, like, I want to get the hell out of here, and that's a good thing to worry about because you're in control of that. And the same is true with heat. Um, I married a German. They're crazy about saunas. I hated saunas all my life. But then I learned about breathing, and I'm like, I don't hate saunas. I hate the warm air breathing through my mouth. That's what it was. And I remember going to the Raro for the first time and hopping off the plane, taking this huge whiff of warm air, and it putting me off anything warm, you know? And so after realizing my nose can cool the air, guess what? I have an awesome relationship with sauna now because I'm not in there breathing warm air. I'm breathing slower, which gives my nose time to cool the air. And so I'm just enjoying the sweat, benefits. I've been learning a bunch about heat shock proteins Yeah, bro, that's the one. So I need to get you out here, and you need to get in that sauna with me. You need to get in that cold pool. We need to do some breathing.
I love all that stuff, mate. Yeah, it was Wim Hof, same as you, same as me. Got me into it. I hated the cold, but he's got me into it. Now I have my cold showers every day, and I have more embraced the cold now. But yeah, I used to always try to avoid it. Put it on a hoodie or beanie.
Beautiful.
Like, it sucks, But now I love the cold air. I guess it was probably similar to you and your. I wonder about the breathing because I'm more conscious of my nasal breathing. I wonder if that had a difference and I didn't even know. You know what I mean?
I would say so. I mean, definitely.
I have been trying the last few years, to try more, and I've gotten over the cold now.
Well, definitely. So, what I can definitely say is you definitely enacting a more calm mindset, which is helping with the panic.
Yes.
Because when you go in, you want to panic. And if most people jump into a cold bath or something, that's the breathing that you think, right? Oh my gosh, But if you actively go into that, and so there's a really awesome professor in the US called Professor Andrew Huberman, and he actually talks about the stress resilience of breathing in a controlled way in a harsh moment, that not only are you able to deal with the moment, but you're building your tolerance for next time. And I think that's what we call stress resilience. And everyone wants us to be resilient to stress, but they never tell us how, And I love that there's a solution, which is like, get in the cold, breathe slow, take it, take it. Don't jump in there splashing all around. Go in slow, take the pain, breathe through it. You'll get through it. And you do always get through it, and especially for the really cold ice baths, they're only recommending 3 minutes. So it's like, I actually personally prefer just nature's cold. So if it's a real cold morning, 5 degrees, I like that. It's like, ooh, it's telling me time to play. If it's a warmer morning, I'm like, ooh, lucky I got off this morning.
It was connecting the dots for me. It was a bit of like Wim Hof, and then seeing some athletes like like Germany and Poland, and that they do the old Russia, the cold, they jump on the ice and stuff, and as a part of their recovery and mental toughness things and stuff like that. So and then Wim Hof was talking about it, and sort of it was a bit of a combination of different things, and connecting the dots, and then the immune system of it, the immune system part, and then Wim said something that I've always remembered. He said like about, I didn't say it exactly like this, but like we hang out in the comfort thing too much. So get like really, really cold sometimes. They get really, really hot sometimes. Like it wasn't like as simple as that, but that's what I sort of figured now. Like, don't always try to make it the perfect 20 degrees or whatever.
Exactly.
Temperatures that you like, every now and again get really hot.
Hard out.
Really
but it is that simple, bro, as you laid it out. That is the blueprint. If we, like, I think that was my problem with my upbringing, is I was being given just a comfortable zone all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, like I wasn't able to flourish, and being in this kind of slightly scary zone at the moment, you know, we flourish because you got to rise to that challenge. And even talking like a little bit about your immune system, like guess what makes your immune system weak? Being in that comfortable zone.
Yes,
You
exactly.
you have to stress it to and that's exactly what the cold does. That's what people need to get their head around, is that why the heck would you jump in there? Why wouldn't you? You know, we're built to bring in stress that we can control and get over. What we're not built to do is bring in stress that we can't get over. That's a chronic stress. And so I think, you know, when people talk about stress, they're like, oh, avoid stress at all costs. Nah, man, pick the stress you can beat,
Yeah.
you know, but this other stress, you need to run away from that, you know, the bad boss, the bad relationship, the bad person, not good for you. Get the hell away from that. That's stuff you don't want to even worry about. But the stress that you need, going to the gym, exercising, you know, getting in the cold, that's the ticket to health.
Nah, man, this has been awesome, man. I feel like we could keep going and on and on. We have to do it again sometimes. There's some stuff we didn't cover, but I think we covered a lot of great stuff, and we could make it a thing for round two in the future. Man,
Beautiful, brother.
thank you, man. Appreciate it sharing. Where can people find you? Do you see what you're up to with your journey? Like I know, like
Yeah, man.
learning rapidly with your school, so and studies and everything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So easiest way is you can check out the podcast. Please blow my mind. I have traditionally been a lot more onto it with providing content, but you know, there's only so many things you can fit in
Yep.
the world. So you can check that out on Apple podcasts or Spotify, everywhere that people listen to podcasts. Please blow my mind on Instagram and Manava Breathing on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. I'm like everyone else, man. Facebook is weird. It used to be cool, but it's weird now. Eh?
Yeah, hey, man. Thank you very much, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, can I just say thank you to you? We've been in touch for a while. I wanted to do this as a double podcast, but we were talked about me. So please, let's do this soon where you be my guest, eh?
All right, man. Appreciate it. Got you.
Right, brother. Thank you, man.